I know already I've been introduced, but I'm Margaret Mullin. I'm a minister of Place of Hope Indigenous Church, and we worship at Winnipeg Inner City Missions. There have been many challenges for our people and our staff during the COVID-19 restrictions. Kinship is such an important cultural norm for our folk. That includes your entire family, which can be incredibly large when you're kin with your maternal and paternal grandparents, their children, and all their children, grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. Separation from kin and from the other wiser ones in your family has been very stressful and has seriously increased anxiety levels in all ages within our congregation and their families. Separation from kin also shows itself in other ways. We have people who are used to having annual memorial feasts, and those are memorial feasts for people who have passed on, usually had every year for at least 4 years and sometimes beyond that. Funerals are done at the graveside now with less than 10 in attendance, and our families are being affected by that because they have not been able to travel to the funerals of people who are important to them up north, or been able to gather in town when something like that has happened. And life events like the memorial feast and the funerals are very important kinship gathering events. That's where they get to meet each other and reconnect with each other and love each other and support each other, and those things just aren't happening. Even people living in crowded conditions here in the city are lonely for their kin, and that loneliness goes really deep. Our people, on the other hand, already live in a food desert in this inner city. Supermarkets are not within walking distance. Cab fares cut into their food budgets. It's hard to carry much on the bus, and the bus fare already means $6 return if you have to go anywhere. The prices have gone up, especially for food and for personal hygiene items. And in Manitoba, the EIA has not been increased. Our people are just seriously food insecure. Most of the money goes to rent and hydro so they can have a roof over their head. Everyone is at risk of homelessness by the end of the month. And yet when we ask what they need most, they say they're all okay. They are so used to living in a subsistence existence that we have to drag it out of them what they need by asking the questions. Do you have milk for your kids? What are you eating? And then there are the children. They see me live stream on Facebook on Sunday and they act out because their parents refuse to bring them to church. The older kids' homework is often a big problem because there's no Wi-Fi in the house, and their parents are often unschooled and can't help. That leaves parents feeling shame and feeling stupid, and children acting out on them. Plus, the homes are already overcrowded, and the babies and the toddlers are all over the older ones trying to do their homework. And we worry because this is just going to set our children further behind at school. Some of our teenagers are refusing to stay at home, putting the whole family at risk for the virus. Some teenagers are staying home, but they're acting out their anxiety and their anger at home and putting the whole household at risk. You can't call for the police because they will certainly inform Child and Family Services, and Child and Family Services will take the younger ones away into foster care instead of helping the family find residential treatment options for the teenagers who are out of control. Parents and grandparents are desperate for things to do with their children, so we're delivering coloring books, crayons, color pencils, sketchbooks, jigsaw puzzles, reading books for all ages, board games, educational toys, Lego, Duplo, anything, whatever we have on hand, and we'll worry about replacing all of that later for the program supplies. Having said all of that, there's amazing good things coming out of this COVID-generated mess. And God certainly deserves all the credit here. God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, they're at work in the midst of all of this chaos. Most families in our congregation have a cell phone and Facebook accounts. And Facebook has FaceTime and live video, and so we're taking full advantage of that. It sure does not replace a hug or a face-to-face encounter, but just seeing and hearing from the ministry staff we are being told is a blessing. So our ministry staff is myself and Brian Harper, and Brian and I work 2 days each, and Susan is working about a day, and we kind of put it all together and make a full-time position for the congregation. And so far that's working very well because it's there's different kinds of things that each of us can do. There's been a lot of texting from people who don't have Wi-Fi because texting is free, and that's also a very good connection for us. So I'm spending a lot of time on social media. What I have noticed is that congregation members are concerned about each other. I kind of hoped that was so before, but we haven't seen it more than we've seen it during this isolation period. They're checking in with each other and praying for each other. I've created a closed Facebook group for the congregation members and the adherents so that they can more freely share with people they trust with their lives and with their struggles. And we've already talked about how trust is such a big thing with Indigenous people, and it takes a long time to develop trust. And so we want them to be able to be free to express their real needs and their real desires when it comes to the sharing and the praying. The sharing of what they have and what they need has brought me to tears. If they hear of a need in another family, some way, they're finding a way to help. Lots of times they help through us, so that Susan will go and pick up from one family and take to another family. And again, we're making sure that we're being very careful with social distancing and with making sure that things are just put down on the stairs and then somebody backs off and the other person picks it up. It's hard because as soon as you get to the house, you have everybody just getting all excited because they see somebody from the ministry staff, and they want to come out and they want to hug, and the children are standing on the stairs and waving and saying, hi, 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 hi. Like, and diapers are being shared from one family to another, and these people don't have anything. A family who had to move to a bigger house to get their kids back from CFS got help with the cleaning necessary for the new place before they moved in. That family took food to someone who had nothing as a thanksgiving for the help that they got from the congregation. And it just kind of goes on and on, and I keep getting goosebumps. I get more feedback on my sermons than ever before in the comments. I'm going live on Facebook, and but they're inboxing me after that, after they've watched it, and asking questions they have and telling me they needed that word spoken on that particular day. It's really hard to know what to say. I know it's hard for all of the ministers during this COVID time. But within this context, it's been really difficult for me to decide how I can best bring encouragement from the gospel into this context. And so I struggle with that during the week and pretty much stick to the common lectionary when I can, and just go about bringing that good news into the particular week we're in. What do we need? So what I was saying is what we need, it's your prayers, more than anything else. We need personal feminine hygiene, Pampers size 4 to 6, cleaning supplies, general hygiene supplies. And we particularly need your prayers for Indigenous people living in deep poverty in Canada, not just us, but all of Indigenous people who are living in deep poverty within Canada, especially during this COVID time. And your prayers for Place of Hope Indigenous Church in Winnipeg. Thank you for listening.